Hello, and welcome to the Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail Summoner Guide. In this video, I'll be explaining the basics of the Summoner job at level 100. Summoner, alongside Red Mage, Black Mage and Pictomancer, is one of the 4 magical ranged DPS. They are often referred to as casters. They take up one of the ranged spots in a party alongside a physical ranged player. Summoner plays with a 1-minute rotation in which they have a lot of mobility through their many instant cast spells. In this minute, the job cycles through their summons, all 3 primals, Solar Bahamut, Regular Bahamut or Phoenix. Our gauge consists of 2 main parts. The icon at the left displays which demi we can summon next, which is either Bahamut, Solar Bahamut or Phoenix. The second part shows which primals we can summon. Energy Drain is a 60-second cooldown which does a small amount of damage and grants us 2 stacks of Everflow and the Further Ruin buff. The Everflow stacks can be spent on Necrotize. The Further Ruin buff can be spent on Ruin 4. Searing Light is a 2-minute rate-wide buff. It increases the damage done from those affected by 5% for 20 seconds. After using this, the action turns into Searing Flash, which is a high potency OGCD that deals damage to a target and any nearby enemies. We also have the role action Lucid Dreaming. This spell restores mana gradually over the course of 21 seconds. Use this frequently to keep your mana topped up. Although do not use it on cooldown, as this is your only way of getting back into the fight after dying. Summon Carbuncle. This summons our Carbuncle pet, which will be the key to the rest of our rotation. Make sure this is summoned before any encounter. It will also disappear upon death, so summon it instantly again after a wipe or death. During our rotation, we summon various primals and demis through the Carbuncle. When we do this, some of our spells change as well. Gemshine turns into a single target spell based on which primal we currently have summoned. Astral Flow turns to a single target special ability based on our current summon. This includes the primals but also both demi summons. Ruin 3 is our filler ability. We cast this when we have nothing else to cast. It also changes into another spell when we have a demi summoned. Our summon demi spell is our big damage spell. It puts us into a trance that allows us to use several key abilities and opens up our filler rotation afterwards. This spell switches between summon Solar Bahamut, summon Bahamut and summon Phoenix upon execution. Summon Solar Bahamut turns our Carbuncle into the demi summon of Solar Bahamut. When we cast this, we enter the Lightworm stance for the next 15 seconds. During this trance, Ruin 3 turns into Umbral Pulse, which we will want to cast as our main GCD. Alongside this, Astral Flow turns into Sunflare, which is a high potency OGCD that cleaves around the target for 60% of its potency. The trance grants you access to Enkindle Solar Bahamut, another high potency OGCD that cleaves around the target for 60% of its potency. Lastly, it also grants you a 30-second buff called Refulgent Lux, which allows you to use the Lux Solaris ability, which is a powerful rate-wide heal that can be used anywhere in the 30-second buff. Summon Bahamut turns our Carbuncle into the demi-summon Bahamut. When we cast this, we enter the Dreadworm trance for the next 15 seconds. During this trance, our Ruin 3 turns into Astral Impulse, and during these 15 seconds we will be spam casting this spell to get in as many uses as possible. Next it turns Astral Flow into Death Flare, and it allows us the usage of Enkindle Bahamut. Your next demi-summon is Phoenix. Phoenix works similar to Bahamut but grants you access to Rekindle instead of Lux Solaris, which is a powerful single target heal that activates when the target falls below 75% of their HP. Upon summoning Phoenix, the Phoenix will also cast Everlasting Flight, which is a moderate regen affecting the entire party. This regen can't really be timed, so it's a bonus if it actually heals something, but it's not always the case. You can access the Phoenix every other odd minute window. Both Bahamuts and Phoenix then grant you 3 Arcanum, an Emerald one, a Ruby one and a Topaz one. Each of these can be used to summon a primal. Summon Titan 2 can be used when you have access to the Topaz Arcanum. It turns your Carbuncle into Titan. Upon doing so, Gemshine turns into Topaz Rite, a short GCD with moderate potency. When we execute this rite, we also can combo it into an OGCD that replaces Astral Flow, Mountain Buster. Summon Garuda 2 can be used when we have access to the Emerald Arcanum. It turns our Carbuncle into Garuda. Upon doing so, we turn Astral Flow into Slipstream, which creates a ground AoE effect under the target. It also turns Gemshine into Emeraldite, which is a short GCD single target damaging ability. Summon Ifrit 2 can be used when we have access to the Ruby Arcanum. It turns your Carbuncle into Ifrit. Upon doing so, we turn Astral Flow into Crimson Cyclone. This is a 2-part combo and a gap closer that does moderate damage. It also turns Gemshine into Ruby Rite, a cost with a moderate to high potency. Our rotation is a 1-minute cycle which starts with either Solar Bahamut, Bahamut, or Phoenix. Within this cycle, certain aspects of the rotation can be swapped and moved around depending on the movement or burst requirements of the encounter. The general all-purpose opener goes as follows. Precast Ruin 3. Since this ability has a 1.5 second cast time with a 2.5 second GCD, be careful not to early pull. Then, summon Solar Bahamut. Spam cast Umbral Impulse as your GCD ability. Resist the urge to press the glowing buttons and only paw after casting Umbral Impulse. We will then use Searing Light. The reason why we haven't used any of our glowy buttons yet is because we want to put them into the raid buffs of our party members. On the third impulse, we will want to cast Energy Drain. Wait until the fourth and release all of your burst. This will be done by weaving 2 OGCDs between each Umbral Impulse. Do that in the following order. Enkindle Solar Bahamut, Necrotize, Sunflare, Necrotize, and then lastly Searing Flash. After your trance runs out, summon Titan and spend all Topaz Rites and Mountain Busters. Quickly summon Garuda and cast Slipstream. Here's an example of the opener being done. After the opener, spend all Emerald Rites and then summon Ifrit to use up the Crimson Cyclone combo and the Ruby Rites. When you run out of procs, use your Ruin 4 and fill out your rotation with Ruin 3s until Summon Bahamut comes off cooldown. Ruin 4 can also be used earlier than this point if you are in need of extra mobility or if there's a cleave target present and you're not in Titan phase. This entire rotation repeats itself endlessly, with Summon Bahamut or Phoenix being on the odd minutes, while Solar Bahamut plus your Searing Light will be used on the even minute. The order of the 3 primals, Titan, Garuda and Ifrit, can be changed freely in your rotation. For example, you don't want to be in the middle of your Ifrit phase while heavy movement is happening. You also don't want to use Garuda's Slipstream while the boss is moving. And you would maybe want to use Titan when cleaving multiple targets is possible. There are many other possibilities and options to take in consideration. Being able to plan out your primal usage sets apart the bad summoners from the good ones. During any AoE encounters, it is recommended to keep your single target rotation when there are 2 targets present. You can prioritize abilities that cleave during these moments though. Abilities that can cleave are Ruin 4, Titan's Mountain Busters, and both your Enkindle Bahamuts, Death Flare and Sunflare. Starting from 3 targets up, the AoE counterparts of our single target abilities become a gain. When there are 3 or more targets, change your rotation to use Precious Brilliance instead of Gemshine. Use Energy Siphon instead of Energy Drain, and use Try Disaster instead of Ruin 3, and use Pain Flare instead of Necrotize. We already talked about Lux Solaris, the heavy raid wide heal that you gain access to after summoning Solar Bahamut. We also talked about Everlasting Flight, the raid wide regen, and Enkindle, the single target heal from Phoenix. So let's talk about the other utility that Summoner has to offer. Swiftcast is an OGCD that makes your next GCD ability instant cast. This can be used for movement if you're caught in your Ifrit phase at a bad time, but should mostly be used with the next ability that I want to cover. Resurrection allows you to revive a party member that has died. During progress, this skill is a viable tool to prolonging the pool. During progress, you can combo it with Swift Cast to lessen the strain on your healers by a considerable amount. Radiant Aegis is your defensive ability. This spell is technically cast by your Carbuncle and thus can only be used while your Carbuncle is out. This means you cannot cast it during your Bahamut or Phoenix phases, or shortly after summoning any of your primals. Addle is your raid-wide mitigation spell. Addle reduces physical damage dealt by 5% and magical damage dealt by 10% for the next 15 seconds. Addle has to be applied to the target, and these mitigations only count for abilities cast by the affected target. Keep in mind that other casters also gain access to Addle, and they do not stack, instead overriding each other. Sleep puts a target to sleep. If the target takes any damage, their trance is broken. This spell is incredibly niche and doesn't really see much use. Lastly, Surecast is your knockback immunity. Our stat priority goes as follows. Get spell speed until you reach a GCD of 2.46 or 2.48. Then get crit over determination, over direct hit, over spell speed. The reason why we want to get a 2.46 to 2.48 GCD so badly is because it allows us to put an additional GCD into our Bahamut and Phoenix phases. Add on spell speed until you can comfortably use 6 GCDs during our Demi phases. After that, we want to allocate points into the other stats to maximize our damage. This guide is not made with any particular tier in mind, so for the current best in slot set, please visit the Balance Discord or the Icy Veins website. Here you can find the list of the current best in slot items. Thank you very much for watching. If you've learned something new about the summoner job, please consider subscribing or leaving a like. I'd also like to thank everyone that helped out in making this video.